a lot of the professionals that we admire and look up to, that is one thing that they um, kind of understand, and that is to show up every day and work and kind of be inspired eventually, right? And I know for me, it's super super. Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? We're back. We're back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. And today was one of those days where I felt that sometimes uh, I'm a little bit tired. Had the afternoon crash, had my nap, and I really wasn't up for putting up any videos, right? And it was interesting to me because I think for the most part, most of us have that awareness that we're like, you worked hard, you started the year so fast, and you really had a project in mind, and you're really excited and passionate. As I said in other videos, and it's very easy to kind of just take a little break, take a little step back, and hone yourself. Now, I think for each and every one of us, it's kind of there's a moment in time for that, and it is needed. But sometimes it is just us trying to stay away from doing the work. And what goes to the to the chapter that I'm reading right now here in the book by The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, where he is stating that he's saying, sometimes for the most part, most of us are kind of, you know understanding that every day we show up, every day we go to work, we just show up and we do the work. And that can involve so many things. That could be, from the easiest and mundane things that we do every day to the most complicated and thoughtful strategies that we might need for work. But as far as doing the creative work, sometimes the mundane gets kind of, the everyday gets kind of routine, and you kind of get kind of bored of it. I know for me, for example, I can give you a great example. If you have a plan to go to the gym, and you start for the first couple of weeks, and you do your workouts 3 to 5 days, 5 times a week. It can get kind of routine. You do the same thing, different body parts, but the same thing. You're working out every day, and you're doing what you feel you're here to do. And sometimes it's very easy to kind of get bored of it, right? And I think staying with that mindset that, just show up every day. I know for me, my mindset in the gym is just show up every day, right? And put in the work, and then go home and not really worry about whether, there's some days that I have it, some days that I don't have it. I'm not energized, I'm not into it, but I still show up, right? Once you get there, you have no excuse, right? Which I feel like before I used to work out from home sometimes, and it's great and all, it's very convenient, but 1 second, sorry, afternoon coffee. It's very convenient, but for some reason, when you're at home, you kind of work less. Um, what I mean by that is you tend to really like take your time, take a little bit of slack. You can't just slack off because you can do it any time of the day. You can take them some days off because you're always home. So I feel like going somewhere, going to work, to a gym, going to a gym, physical place, kind of gets you a different mindset. Like it's something that as our humans we're kind of like that, right? Certain things remind us of certain mindsets, right? So for example, when you're going to work, once you commute to work, you're in a different mindset. You're going to work, you're going to make your money, uh, I was obviously make others be efficient, teamwork. I would say, make your boss or your higher ups proud, meet your deadlines, meet your your duties, right? And once you leave work, you're different. You come out with a different mindset. And I think sometimes people say, "Oh yeah, that's not true. I'm the same no matter what." I think sometimes when you go to work, you have a different mindset. You're at work, and then when you leave, you're a different person. I've met a lot of individuals that at work they're totally different people than outside of work. I could say from my experience, I met some individuals at work that were such awesome individuals, and then once they got out of work, they were like they changed roles. They were just different people. Like, oh, you didn't want to be around these people. So sometimes people are like that, right? But I think the gym, in the sense, is in that perspective for me, it has held me accountable. Once I get there, you got to do something. Whether it may be getting on the treadmill, whether it may be lifting some weights, whether maybe some stretching, some maybe I would say Pilates, whatever it is that each and every one of us are into, but you're there and then you have to do the work. But if you stay home, you kind of can half-ass it and not do anything. But going to that, what he was stating in the chapter here was, a lot of the professionals that we admire and look up to, that is one thing that they kind of understand, and that is to show up every day and work and kind of be inspired eventually, right? And I know for me, it's super. I would say anybody that's creating and wants to start a YouTube channel, one thing I would recommend to everybody, it is not easy. So this is why a lot of the creators that I follow, at first I thought it was, my mindset was, oh, that's so easy, you just record yourself and you make a living. But it isn't. There's a lot of thought processes go behind it, a lot of equipment, a lot of setup, a lot of I would say off the screen work, right? Editing, right? This is the computer behind me. I'm gonna go ahead and edit right after this video. So it's like there's a lot of things you do, especially in the beginning to start it off. You're like a 5-man team, right? And as I go, I would say the longer I've done it, the more I've done it, the more efficient I've become, and the more ideas I've gotten, right? And I think that's part of the whole point of this, right? Is that in the chapter it says every day you show up, you do the work, and eventually there's days that you're not gonna want to do it. There's days that you're gonna have shitty days. There's days you're gonna have awesome days. But eventually you start building that process and building that habit in yourself that it is part of you and it's who you are. And you change even your conscience, your image, your confidence. So certain things that we want to do, we might not even be ready to do it, but we kind of overthink it, or we just don't feel like we're ready for it. And I say, that's BS. I think we gotta jump on. Like, if you want to make videos, you have to start somewhere. And it might not be the best video. It might not be personally, I would say, one of the best organized videos. But I think you start somewhere. So you turn on that camera, that phone, that camera you might want to go and get. Whatever it is you want to do. You want to write that book, you start writing that first page. And it kind of starts building momentum, and I was never a big believer of momentum. I think inspiration was always my part as well, but I think it's a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of momentum. Once you start pushing yourself and pulling yourself together, it starts building up, and there's something that within us that we cannot explain that kind of pushes us to the path that we've been looking for, but we kind of overlooked it because of the fear of doing the work. And again, in my reference here, when I'm talking about for work, what he's talking about work is about, everyday thing you have to do for yourself to get to where you want to get. And for every individual, that's different. Everybody has their own path, their own opportunities, their own goals and projects they want to work on. So, that being said, I will cut this video short, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same journey, that's what we all want. Know what it is to do, and I think it's one day at a time. So I'm just gonna do this short. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for following me. I appreciate you guys, and don't forget to like if you do it.